Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome along to the Wednesday night hangout. This is something that is a new feature on my channel. I don't know how often I'm going to be doing it, but tonight I'm joined by Ali, and we're going to be discussing the upcoming fixture for Arsenal against Burnley in the Premier League. So, Ali, let's kick this off by just introducing yourself.
Hey, how's it going? I'm Ali from T Dot Gooners, represent from Toronto, sending love all the way from Toronto.
It's great to have you on tonight. Great to get some gooners from across the globe onto this feature, and hopefully, like I said, I'll be doing a few more of these in the coming weeks, and hopefully getting a bit of more of a diverse culture on it. But looking at Burnley this Saturday, I think it's going to be a really intriguing game, mainly because Arsenal, I don't think we've had the best of performances recently. I don't think the game against Anderlecht was particularly exciting. I don't think the performance against Sunderland was particularly enthralling. If it wasn't for two lackluster pieces of defending from Sunderland, then maybe we wouldn't have come out of that game with 3 points. We didn't look too great in that game. In fact, we looked a little bit shabby. But I'm confident going into this Burnley game. I think realistically, Burnley are probably our easiest fixture of the season. They don't really strike me too much as a Premiership side. I know they've got a couple of quality players in there, like George Boyd. Well, quality players, but half decent players like George Boyd in their side. But they didn't really strengthen adequately enough. Over summer. I mean, one player that I think really sums up their club at the moment, especially their situation, is Danny Ings, a player that was absolutely fantastic for them in the Championship, hasn't really hit the same kind of heights in the Premier League. I mean, Ali, what's your take going on to this game on Saturday?
Okay, well, if you look at it just as on like face value, right? It's Arsenal versus Burnley. You think that Burnley is a team that are bound to go down. Like you put them in that category where teams come up and then go straight back down because they just can't deal with the pressure of the Premier League. But then if you take that sort of aspect to it and you sort of like group it with the way we've been playing, I mean it's amazing, because like last match, I remember like against Sunderland at in the at halftime. I was just thinking to myself, like wait, you've seen that that Simpsons vine, right? It's like, what a time to be alive. It's like because if you take a legendary manager like Arsene Wenger, and if you think of him sort of coaching a player like Alexis Sanchez, or a club that can afford a player of Alexis Sanchez's quality, you'd think that we'd be playing amazing. But against Sunderland, I saw our team sheet, our Ted and Flamini in the middle, and whatever I'm about to say, it's not to put them down because I thought they were great defensively, but I just thought that the game would be so boring. Like that was my first initial reaction to it. Because Sunderland are gonna back off. They're traumatized. They just had the worst day of their lives, 8-0, getting beat by Southampton. So they were always gonna back off. They're not gonna be the most experimental ruthless kind of team, and then you put Arteta and Flamini against that kind of a team. It's sort of both teams are one team's really defensive, one team's really scared. So I think that's what contributed to the really boring performance against Sunderland. Against Anderlecht, we're in Belgium. I think what Arsene Wenger says when he says that there's no easy away games in the Champions League, I think that's true. You can't, I know that Anderlecht is the weak link of our group, but at the same time, they're in the Champions League. That has to count for something. But at that point, I think the 3 points mattered way more, and that's always been the case in the Champions League. 3 points over the performance because you have to travel. There's so much fatigue and all that stuff. So 3 points for that, I don't really care. But against Sunderland, that was the main. I saw that performance, and it was really a spectacle in my mind. It's really spectacular to see us play how badly we've been playing. And I think if you watch the True Geordie's videos, he said it perfectly. In that game, Sunderland beat themselves. We didn't beat Sunderland. It was Sunderland who beat Sunderland, right? And then you take that consideration into the Burnley game. That's when you start to see that maybe it's not going to be a killing Wait, are we at home right now? Like
Yeah, we're,
for
we're at home for Saturday.
okay, so then I fully expect us to beat Burnley, but like I don't think in the past seasons you would have thought it would have been an easy 5-0 kind of a win. But the way we've been playing, although I should say that the constant, I think we scored like 6 goals in the 90th minute in like 9 appearances in the Premier League so far. So that has to count for something. But at the same time, like I don't think it's going to be a non-jammy performance. But I mean, I could be wrong. We've got Alexis Sanchez, so never know.
Yeah, I think I can't realistically see this game being a 5-6 nil mauling by Arsenal simply because of the way we've been playing recently. The football has been very, very static, very lethargic kind of play, and that really surprises me considering the players that we've got in our side and one player
The
that's really
pace,
let me
right?
down. Yeah, exactly. I
Yeah,
mean, one player that I think really hasn't lived up to the dizzying heights surrounding him at the moment is certainly Santi Cazorla. I think we're really missing as Ozil at the moment.
yeah,
But I'll get onto that point a bit later. But I think injuries does come into it at some stage because I think Wilshere is that real driving force. I think some of our better performances this season against maybe City, Villa, Wilshere has really been the driving force of those kind of games. I think he's been an absolutely fantastic player for us. I'd like to think that this is his season, maybe ahead of someone like Ramsey. And Ramsey's again someone that hasn't really kicked on from where he was last term. I'd love to see him push on in this game. And I was actually a bit surprised that he didn't start against Sunderland because usually we start with one defensive-minded player in Arteta or Flamini,
yeah,
and then we've got a player like our Ramsey or Wilshere alongside them, being that driving force,
exactly.
connecting the defence and attack. But we didn't have that, and that's where our style of play got really, really dull in that game against Sunderland. But I'm hoping that we're going to see a more influential and exciting style of play against Sunderland. And I actually get into the team lineups, the one that I want to see start this game anyway. I see Chesney in goal as normal, and then of course we've got a bit of a rejig back four for this one because apparently Kieran Gibbs is out for this game. But then there are other reports
Wait,
saying
he
it.
is? I thought he was. I thought
Yeah,
he
I
was
mean,
declared fit.
Yeah, I mean there are reports coming out. I mean we won't know until Wenger's made his official press conference, but there are a lot of reports stimulating that he's going to be back for this game. Which, if he is great. But if it was up to me, as it's only Burnley at home, I'm not saying I'll take them lightly, but realistically we should be winning this game with any kind of back four that we put out there. I would like to see us just start with Monreal at left back, just as a precautionary kind of thing. Then Mertesacker and Chambers in the central defensive centre of defence, and then Bellerin at right back with Arteta and Ramsey. I think that's what I said, with Campbell actually starting this game, and then Wilshere, Sanchez, and Welbeck up the top. So let's get a look at your lineup as well, Ali.
I think my back four, actually my back five is going to be the exact same. Which is, like I wish we had Carl Jenkinson because this season, the way we've been hit by all these injuries, he would have really like developed. But all that playing time is going to Bellerin now, which is great because I think he's a great player. So back five is exactly the same. Um, as far as I think Arteta has more like even though we only use him as a completely defensive player, I think he has way more attacking prowess, and because like obviously he used to be a more offensive player, so I think he can, especially against Burnley at home. I think we should really exploit like all their flaws and the things that will cause them to eventually go down. In my opinion, I think we should go with Arteta Ramsey. So back seven is exactly the same as yours, but I think I would play Wilshere in the number 10 role for this game. On the left-hand side, it's going to be a really controversial opinion, but I think we should play Campbell over what you want to call it, Cazorla. And on the right-hand side, obviously Alexis Sanchez. Or actually, we could play what's it called, Chambo on the left-hand side and Sanchez on the right-hand side because then they can interchange because both of them can play on either wing, and then Welbeck up top.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's funny that you say it like that because I'd personally prefer to see Sanchez utilised on the left-hand side of the pitch. I think
Yeah.
that's where his better performances have come this season. I think if Gibb does play this game, I think he's starting to form a really good cohesion with him on the left-hand side of the pitch, and I thought that was something that was shown to a really great standard in that game against Galatasaray, especially like I said, down that left-hand side, left flank, and that's where we played some of our best football in that game, especially some of the link-up play between Gibbs and Sanchez. But yeah, I would like to see Wilshere utilised in the number 10 role ahead of Cazorla for this one. I agree with you on that one because Cazorla, I thought he was very, very lackluster against Sunderland. Didn't take any chance that came to him. I mean, every chance he got, he rocketed it over the bar or went straight at Manone. And it was exactly the same in that game against Anderlecht as well. He's put in 2 very poor performances. And Wilshere is someone that normally starts in the number 10 role for England. He's had a couple of performances there in another 10 role for us this season. He's been absolutely magnificent for us this term, and he's got to continue that in his preferred role. And I generally think he's a faster and more creative player than Cazorla now, and a lot of that probably is down to the age thing. I think Cazorla's bordering on 30 now, whereas Wilshere is very young. He's only 22 years old. He's got a lot more to give to the team, and he can last the whole 90 minutes. And it's great to see he's actually got over his injury at the moment. I mean, he's played nearly every game for us this season, which is absolutely fantastic, unthinkable about a year ago. So it's great to have him in the team. And of course, I would love to see Joel Campbell start this one. Chamberlain, someone that, again, big fan of him, but his recent performances need more to be desired. They've been very, very poor. Again, someone that hasn't really looked too penetrative enough. His pace is always an asset to the side. He links up really well with Danny Welbeck. You've got that nice England partnership going on there. But I just think it's only fair that we give Campbell a chance. And with Burnley at home, I mean, what better opportunity? Exactly. What better opportunity is there for him to do it? And every time he's come off the bench recently, I think he's had an impact. He came off the bench in the game against Anderlecht, changed the game, brought a bit more pace to it, and he came off the bench in when we were losing against Hull, and again brought the game to life. So I'd just love to see him start this one. So let's look at finally score predictions. I'm going to go with a 3-1 win to Arsenal. I don't think we'll keep a clean sheet in this one. What are your thoughts on that?
I was going to go for a 3-1, but I'm going to do a different one now. I think it's going to be a 2-0. I think we'll keep a clean sheet.
I think we'll struggle to keep a clean sheet, if I'm honest with you. I think Danny Ings is a class player, but
well, it depends. It depends. If I think the key players in this game are going to be Gibbs and Arteta. If those two are playing instead of Monreal and Flamini, then I think we can go for sort of a bigger scoreline or like a bigger margin of win. But if those two aren't, if it's Arteta and Flamini, then I think it could get really jammy. I think that's when we might be looking at a 1-0 win. But I think if Gibbs is playing, I think we'll go for a 2-0.
Yeah, I mean, I think really where our problem has been recently is not that we're defending awfully, even though we have been at times. I think it's more that we've dominated possession and just haven't done with it. And that's one thing that's really frustrated me as well in the past games, that we've just ponied around the box for about 70, 80 minutes of the game, and then when we get to that final 10 minutes and we're not winning the game, and they just think,
that's when Campbell comes in, and that's when Campbell comes in. He's like, "Yo, what the fuck, man? You're putting me to sleep on the bench. Like, I can't deal with this. I'm gonna come on and play right now." Yeah, that's what happens. He always comes on, and then he always changes the game, and which is the same thing with Chamberlain, right? Like I think I group Chamberlain and Giroud in the same sort of group. Those are the kind of players that, while they're not they're good players and everything, but it's just they're better off the bench. They're always better off the bench for some reason. It's like Chamberlain. The reason he's better off the bench is because he's so direct and is such sort of a shock to the opposition. Whereas if you start him, that's that they're accustomed to, the opposition are accustomed to him. In contrast, if you bring him on from the bench, it's like if you play as static as we played against Sunderland, and then you put Chamberlain on in the 70th minute, I think that's somewhat of a shock to the opposition, which is why he always works off the bench so well. So I mean, I think Chamberlain should come off the bench. Campbell in left wing. I mean right wing. Can Campbell play on the right wing or not?
Yeah, that's where he predominantly plays.
So, I mean, I don't see any problem with Campbell playing, really. I think Chamberlain should come off the bench.
Yeah, I mean, that's something I'd like to see. One thing we're probably totally overlooking in this is the fact that Theo Walcott should probably be in the squad again for this one, which is a huge, huge boost to us. I really highly doubt he'll start the game. But it'd be great to see him get 10, 15, 20 minutes in this one, just to have his pure body inside the dressing room. Is that an absolutely massive blow to us? I think people overlook the fact that how key Walcott actually is to this Arsenal side. I mean, I know a lot of people get frustrated with him when he actually plays for us. He does miss a lot of chances at times, he's become a lot more clinical over the past year. He was in fine form when he did end up getting injured. He played a great game against Spurs in that game. I generally can't wait to have him back. I mean, we're only 2 months into the season. I think he's got an excellent opportunity to really make a name for himself this term. If he stays injury-free, though, he's another player for us that is absolutely hampered by injuries. And one thing that frustrates me more than anything at the moment is the fact that Ozil and Walcott have only played 5 games with each other, which is just, it's so frustrating to see. I mean, it makes me think how well we'd be doing if we had Ozil in that number 10 role when you've got Sanchez, Walcott and Welbeck in front of him now. I mean, the pace going forward, he'd have no excuses now if he wasn't putting in good performances. You would expect him.
Why would you put a world-class winger like Ozil in the center of the pitch? I don't understand.
I don't really understand why you go out and spend 42.5 million on him, base your team around him, only to play him out of position. I mean, that's something that really eludes me at the moment. But I'm hoping when he gets back, he'll have. One thing I really think he's got to work on as well is his physicality. He's slightly, I don't like to use the term weak, but he's a bit of a feeble player. He gets muscled off the ball incredibly easily. You've got to look at someone like Aaron Ramsey and Jack Wilshere as well. They had long, lengthy injuries. They came back, they bulked up. They're really heavy kind of players now, and they've really asserted our midfield in a sense. Because one thing that actually I think Burnley could really, well, not dominate us on, but certainly punish us with is set pieces. There's no doubts that they're a bigger side than us. They've got more physical, demanding players that are required in a league such as the Championship, and they haven't really gone up that level to the Premier League. But when we've got players like Wilshere, Cazorla, Bellerin, etc., these are all players that are about 5 foot something, and they're going to have players that are well over 6 foot. I mean, we've only got a couple of players that are over 6 foot. I mean, you've got Mertesacker, Chambers, Chesney, and maybe Welbeck. That's really about it for us. And set pieces is something that I think we've defended very poorly this season. Hoping that we'll improve on that in this game. But I think that's the only real threat that Burnley give us in this game.
Yeah, for sure.
Burnley shouldn't pose too much of a threat. I think we're going to have one eye on that game against Anderlecht in the Champions League on I think it's Tuesday night. Which so I would expect to see some rotation in this game, like a lot of rotation. In a sense, and hopefully we can see some.
I think that's also like one of the reasons why Walcott might get more minutes than we think he would, because I think playing Walcott against Anderlecht would be, it would only do that much good into actually like guaranteeing a win. So I think he could come on at halftime, because I think if we're playing Burnley and we're winning kind of like comprehensively by the 80th minute, like I don't think there's much of a point in bringing Walcott on. Also, if we're not winning comprehensively, if it's like a 2-1, like a scrappy win, then there's sort of he might go for a more defensive option. He might go for Walcott. We don't know, but I think we're gonna see him like come on like close to like right after halftime, maybe 50th minute or something like that. Because I think if he's fit, if we can get him fit and competitive for the Anderlecht game, I think that's going to be a huge plus, because we need to win that game.
Yeah, as well as that, I think there's a little bit less pressure on this game because Burnley, everyone expects us to beat them. I mean, we're at home as well. Anderlecht, that's the kind of game where we've got to be picking up 3 points to ensure Champions League group stage qualification. So I think for him to just get a little run out of this game, if we're winning 2 or 3-0 come, well, I would say Wenger would make a substitution at half time, but I know that he's not going to make a substitution at half time. It would be great to just see him come on in the 60th, 70th minute just to get a run of minutes under no pressure, and it'd be great if he could get a goal or assist or something. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much the Wednesday night hangout wrapped up from me. If you'd like to see a few more of these, then get involved in the comments below. If you'd like to feature on one as well, get a comment in below, and or get in touch with me on Twitter at simplycookie_. And Ali as well, many thanks for coming on to this, mate. If you want to just promote yourself as well before you go.
Yeah, just my Twitter handle is at Ali Arsenal, ALEE Arsenal, and just another shout out to T.Gooners.
All right, mate. Thanks for coming on. I hope everyone's enjoyed this, and hopefully I'll get a few more weeks, and I will of course be doing my standard preview probably at some point tomorrow when I get around to do it. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching this, and speak to you soon.